Hello. Is anybody there? No. Okay. So this will be a me chatting to myself live stream. I see that there are a few people in the chat now that I've started. Post something in the chat. Let me know who you are. Let me know who's there. How's your Sunday been? What are you reading? I am reading this Assassin's Quest. Hello, Rogue. Hello, K-Hod or KH-Odd. Hey, Tufty. Have you also started this, Tufty? Hey, Nuts. Nuts is there. What are you reading these days, Jimmy? I have been basically reading the most emotionally traumatic thing I could find. I thought at the end of Royal Assassin that it couldn't get any worse, and then I started Assassin's Quest, and the first 3 chapters are just Robin Hobb showing you exactly how much worse it can get. Hello, Chadia. Hello, Punk Rock Cereal Bowl, which I think is the coolest name ever. Hey, Kev. Yes. The Jimmy, if you mean gasoline in the sense that Robin Hobb is pouring it all over you and then lighting it, I agree. Yeah. It's really a mess. Hello, Maria. Hello, Benjen. Hello, Mr. Purple. You're a bit behind, Mr. Purple. If you want to join the read along that I'm hosting, but oh my goodness, it's good. Tufty, you're behind schedule, mate. You got to get on it. Oh, Jimmy, Lud in the Mist. I don't know if you saw my recent Fantasy Before Tolkien video, but Lud in the Mist is one of the ones I'm really, really looking forward to. It sounds very interesting. Hello, Chadia or Chadia. I don't know which. Tell me in the chat. Is it Chadia, like Chad, or is it Chadia, like Chade from the Farseer trilogy? Evie is reading Little Animals. I've heard of that, but I don't. For some reason, I don't really know anything about it. Hey, Dan. Curse of the Mistwraith. Yeah. It's one of those ones that kind of scares me a little bit because it's long, but I hear so many good things about it. I've never read anything by by Jenny Wirtz. I've got To Ride Hell's Chasm on my TBR shelf as sort of a Jenny Wirtz tryout. So it's Chadia. Okay, now I know. Good to know. Melly says that the beginning of Assassin's Quest is the best part of the whole trilogy. Yeah, if you like emotional damage, I guess. I actually so far this is a reread, but I read it like 20 years ago. So far I'm very Royal Assassin. Like if I'm rating the 3, I would put Royal Assassin on the top. Still have books on your special TBR shelves since November or so. I have a TBR shelf that is 3 meters wide, and there is a 1 meter stack next to it, and all of that is physical TBR, unfortunately. And some of it's been there since August last year. So yeah, I guess that's a really weird kind of flex. But Maria is reading Jade City. I've got Jade City on my TBR shelf. I'm looking forward to it, but haven't got there yet, and it's going to be a while. Okay, Jimmy says Blood in the Mist is good. I figured it was. It's got a very pretty edition, the one I've got, the physical one. with like a debossed cover and a really nice design of vines and stuff all over the cover, which is pretty cool. Detsen by Qixin Liu. I have heard of that, but I haven't got it. Okay, DK Moon, Rainwild, pause. How have you been liking Rainwild? It's very different than any of the Fitz books, and it's quite different also than Live Ships. But I remember liking it. I read it again many years ago, but I remember liking it. And Durfee's books, I want to get into. Pretty much everybody also seems to think that they're pretty cool. So we'll see. Arc of the Strange. Martian Chronicles meets True Grit. That's a good pitch. Martian Chronicles meets True Grit. I have a hard time imagining exactly what that could be like, but it sounds attractive to start with. Dragonbone Chair. Hey, I've got those on my physical TBR shelf as well. That is a hole in my old fantasy reading. I haven't read Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn. I have read what's it called, Otherland or Otherworld? Otherland, I think, by Ted Williams. Read that ages ago, but Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn I've not managed to get to yet. And I was talking, I think, to Josh, Red Fury Books, about maybe doing a read-along, buddy read, whatever, later in the year. I've got too many buddy reads going on at the moment. The Inquisitor's Manual by Antonio Lobo Antunes. I have never heard of it. Have to tell me how it is. Wirtz's Cycle of Fire trilogy is about the same length as Game of Thrones. It's still pretty damn big. I mean, shorter than Mistwraith. But yeah, I want to read To Ride Hell's Chasm, and if I like that, I will definitely get into Mistwraith maybe next year. Yeah, Melly, it sounds like you do like it when Hob rips your heart out. Actually, it's not your heart she's ripping out; it's Fitz's, and stomping out on it and putting it back in, covered in dirt, and so on. Yeah, Shep, that was a coincidence. I was surprised when you mentioned that. Yeah, Dr. Fantasy, Herr Professor Dr. Fantasy, and I started a buddy read of Book of the New Sun. First time for him, third time for me. And also, I think I saw your comment on Scott Bold Booktuber's channel. He's been doing some really great chats with Christopher Rocchio, and getting a lot out of those. I watched the first one, Shadow the Torturer, right after I finished it. It's a reread for me, but again, my memory's crap, and I read it years ago, so I'm getting to Scott's videos with Rocchio as I finish each book. Scarecrow, if you're asking me what I'm reading, Assassin's Quest. I'm a bit past the middle. Yeah, a bit past the middle. So I'm getting towards the last third of it, and it's pretty good. It's not as good so far, I would say, as Royal Assassin, but I think everyone agrees about that, more or less. Tufty has special TBR shelves, just leftover books that I've been putting on my monthly TBR plans. Okay. Your shelf of shame. Yeah, mine is just whenever I buy anything that I want to read, whenever, it goes on the physical TBR shelf, and it's full with a big stack next to it. Read about 75 pages of Rainwilds while Durfee's book was in the mail. Okay, then you haven't really gotten very far. Rainwilds, I think, is really interesting, and it does a lot with the world. Like, there is a bunch of really interesting stuff about the world that gets exposed and explained and shown in the Rainwilds books. But a lot of people, I don't know, maybe just because it doesn't have Fitz in it, a lot of people seem to be a bit down on it, but I quite liked it. Hello, Joanna. Welcome. See if we can get some reading done. We'll go into a half-hour reading splint shortly. Keep up the good work, Matt. Watching your videos for some time. Also, just add the Grimoire Discord. Thank you very much, Stacy. It seems that I'm popular in the Netherlands. There's a few people. Jerome and I think Paul is also Dutch, and I've been there a couple of times. It's a nice country. It's a lot of Dutch people are very different to me. From my exposure to America and Australia and Germany. But yeah, I love Amsterdam, and I don't even smoke drugs. So that's not the reason I love Amsterdam. Assassin's Quest, least favorite of the trilogy. Yeah, it seems to be what everybody says. It seems pretty common. Shep just started the Sword of the Lictor. I'm just about to start. When I finish Assassin's Quest, I will start Claw of the Conciliator, the second book in the Book of the New Sun, and I'm looking forward to it. Chadia liked Ringwalds too. Yeah, I really did enjoy it. I mean, it's not Fitz and the Fool running around and doing heartbreaking things, but it was good. Hello, Jordan. Welcome. Okay, Tofty. I didn't realize you were a Brit. So our time zones are similar. I always try and schedule things like this on a weekend in the afternoon, late evening, or early evening for me, so that people in America could theoretically join if they want to in the middle of the day on a weekend. I'd never really do chats or anything like that in during the week for that reason. Jordan is currently reading Fool's Assassin. Yeah, Tufty is just about to start Assassin's Quest. I'm about 2/3 through Assassin's Quest. A lot of elderling love going around these days. So shall we maybe start a splint, and maybe we'll end at 1/4 to the next hour. Let me see. Sprinting until. So let's read, people. Hello again, everybody. Good read? I was just thinking about it while I was reading. I should have been concentrated on my reading, but I was thinking about it. I've been online for a long time. I got an email account and access to the internet, not the web, but the internet before there was a web in 1988. And if you had told us back then that people would be doing live video so they could watch each other read, people would have just laughed at you. It still sounds and feels a little bit ridiculous to me, but it's actually fun. This is my first reading sprint stream, by the way. I've participated in some other ones, but I haven't hosted any. So Scarecrow asked me what I'm reading after Assassin's Quest. I am reading Claw of the Conciliator, the second book of the Book of the New Sun, buddy read with Philip Chase. Recommendations for readers who like Cormac McCarthy's writing. I've never actually read anything by Cormac McCarthy. Theo from the Rekindled Reader recently strongly recommended to me that I read The Road, which I want to, but I haven't read anything by him. But maybe somebody else can recommend something to Shep that is for a Cormac McCarthy lover. KJ Parker, Lost Witness. Penny, I've been watching Alan's channel for months, and you can't really watch Alan for 5 minutes without hearing about KJ Parker. And I trust some of Alan's opinions. So I'm interested to read KJ Parker. He sounds really interesting. I still want to watch that interview that Zara did with him recently. But I don't know the book. Jerome, your brain is not working. That's a perfect sign of a lazy Sunday, I think. Pascal Fugli. Pascal, I don't remember if we've bumped into each other before, but I'm in Berlin, so my time is your time. So Shep, Penny says, try Steinbeck. I have read some Steinbeck, and from everything I've heard about McCarthy, I would not think that they were that similar, but what do I know? I haven't read McCarthy. Yeah, Chadia, that's kind of the point for me as well. Is just instead of, because I can get really, really lost in a read and just forget to eat and sit there for hours and do nothing but just read. And it's nice to have little breaks in between. 18 pages of Deadhouse Gates. So you're in the middle of that interesting prologue. The prologue of Deadhouse Gates is a bit shocking if you're reading it for the first time. And Deadhouse Gates in general is maybe a bit shocking because it doesn't do what almost every fantasy series does. It's the second book in a series, and it throws you into a new continent with new things going on and totally new people, and only a couple of the same people from the first book. But it's worth it. I know that disturbs and annoys some people. And kind of disturbed and annoyed me the first time I read it. I'm rereading the whole series right now. And yeah, Deadhouse Gates was a bit of a struggle the first time for me because I was like, I want all of my people back. Like, where is everybody? What's going on? Why am I confused again? And all of that. But it's worth it. It's really, really worth it. DK Moon, you always kick the New Sun books down your TBR. Well, that's a mistake. Sorry. They are also a bit of work in a way. but nothing to be intimidated by. I really think you can read them and just enjoy them as a bit of an adventure story. But there's a lot more than that going on, and they are really, really good. Yeah, that's right. Evie is also Queen KJ Parker. I really would like to read some of his stuff, but looks like probably next year will be the first opportunity to get to any of it. Purple and Black or The Folding Knife. Yeah, no, I saved that. I forgot Purple and Black, but I saved The Folding Knife. That is probably where I will go when I'm ready for KJ Parker. Reading a book and Memories of Ice was eyeballing me from the shelf. I've made decisions. I will begin the prologue. Yeah, the prologue of Memories of Ice, Dan. That is, I think, in the whole series, the prologue that most pays off if you read it and then go back and read it again after you've read half the book, and then maybe go back and read it again after you've read the book, the whole book. There's a lot of stuff going on in the prologue of Memories of Ice where you may not really get it. It's a bunch of characters that you don't know or think you don't know, and they're doing stuff that doesn't make any sense, and it's set thousands, hundreds of thousands, I think, of years before the activity in the book. But it's important. It's important. Oh, yeah. Okay, Chadia, you said 18 pages. Now you're saying 500. Yeah, 500. Then you know about the prologue and what's going on. Okay, Jerome finds it hard to read more than half an hour at a time. I do not have that problem. I read this morning, sort of on the side, eating my breakfast, and I think it took me about 3 hours, 2.5 hours to eat my breakfast because I was reading constantly and not really doing anything else. Yeah. Dead House Gates is a bit of a struggle, but it's a great story, and it only gets cooler. I mean, one of the things I always say to people about Malazan is there is a big story in the series, but you're only getting hints of what the big story is for the first few books. There are lots of small stories which are still super interesting and exciting and everything, but the really big story takes a while to get further into. Okay. 18 pages during the sprint. That makes a lot more. Now I understand what you meant. 16 ways to defend a walled city. That's also been sort of staring at me from various bookshop shelves. It's got a really nice cover, which I'm a sucker for a nice wine bottle label or a nice cover on a book or whatever. The Midnight Tides prologue. Yeah, that is also a really good one. I don't, to be honest, the Memories of Ice prologue, I don't remember exactly. Well, no, that's not true. I do remember what's going on. I wouldn't say it's a really exciting prologue, but it's a very meaningful prologue. It gives you a lot of sort of background information on things that become very important. A Farewell to Arms had descriptions similar to McCarthy. Okay. Yeah, no, I've read a fair bit of Hemingway. I've read Old Man and the Sea and Farewell to Arms and something else. It's been a long time. I liked Hemingway. Like, his prose is so insanely efficient. There isn't anybody who writes as much with so few words as Hemingway. And I like it's like watching, like, if you know Hal Hartley. Hal Hartley's a director, and he is the Hemingway of movies. He has a very similar directing philosophy to, I think, Hemingway's writing philosophy. Hal Hartley tells his people not to act, just to present the words and not do too much tone of voice or too much facial expression or any of that. But his movies are still moving because they're well written, they have interesting characters, and it's interesting to watch one of his movies. I think it's called Real Men. It's been a long time since I watched it. Real Men is probably my favorite Hal Hartley movie, and it's about two brothers who are kind of estranged, haven't seen each other for a long time, and they are trying to find their father. And Hal Hartley's like, you don't, after a while, you don't even realize that the actors aren't really doing much acting. They're just kind of presenting the lines relatively flat, because your brain fills in the rest, and it's the same with Hemingway's prose. Okay, another vote for The Folding Knife. Good to know. Um, After half hour of reading, keep wondering if we should do something more productive. I used to have that. I highly, strongly recommend ditching that psychological bullshit. Like, that part of your psychology is basically just a guilt trip. Maybe you created it, maybe your parents gifted it to you, but it's bullshit. I mean, as long as you've done the things you really need to do, then you're making up reasons to not enjoy yourself. And why would you want to do that? That doesn't sound good at all. I don't know how many pages I read. Um, the only thing I find difficult about reading sprints, I think I read about 20 pages or something. The thing I find really difficult about reading sprints is, I have to stop after half an hour. So I guess the opposite of what Pascal and Jeroen were saying. I always feel like stopping at a point that makes sense to stop, whether it's the end of a chapter or sort of a scene ends during a chapter where you can say, okay, this is kind of a break. I can stop here. But just now, I had to put the book down when something interesting was just getting started. And that always kind of irritates me a little bit. But for the sake of live reading sprints, I'm happy to do that. How do you all feel? Feel like another sprint? Start now, end at past? Make sense? Oh, Chadia. I can give you a tip. There's this thing on your phone. It's called an off button. Turn the damn phone off. Nothing will happen online that, unless you're a doctor on call, nothing will happen on your phone that needs your attention that urgently. Just turn your phone off. Anyway, let's start a sprint. Hello again. Sprint over. Stop reading. Pascal is phoneless, but it's nice. It's nice sometimes. I often will turn my phone off or turn it on do not disturb mode so nothing gets through, and it's kind of peaceful. We've become dopamine junkies with all of our little updates about people thinking about us and what's going on in the world and what have idiots said on Twitter lately and that kind of thing. And it's tiring sometimes. Johan. Okay. Well, it might be where you are. Last of Us finale night. It's not here. We get it on Monday. And I think we get it in Germany in Germany on the streaming service. I think it's on Monday morning. But yeah, I work, so I'll watch it tomorrow night. It's interesting when I started watching Last of Us, I decided, because it had been so long since I played the game, I decided to replay the game, and I just finished it yesterday. And it was interesting. I mean, it's old, it's aged. The graphics are not so great, but it's still one of the better stories ever in games. And I find it quite interesting how they've been adapting it. It's been good, but I guess the story of a video game isn't really enough for a full season of a show. So they've been taking bits that were vaguely suggested in the game and not really fleshed out, and they've been doing like a whole episode about it where they're making up a whole bunch of stuff. So Faulkner. Yeah, I can't compare Faulkner to McCarthy, but I've read the Sound and the Fury, which was amazing and very, very different from a lot of things you might read. So yeah, definitely worth reading. I have no idea if it's anything like McCarthy. Hey, Anitha. Is it Anitha or Anita? Is it pronounced as a th or a t? Jeroen is reading Tress. Yeah, I've got really mixed feelings about Brando Sando. I'm certainly not anti-Sando, and I'm certainly not a Sando fanboy either. But I don't know. Is it wrong of me to think of him as being too clean? I don't know. It's just all, even though it's a world that can be harsh sometimes and all of that, he's just so wholesome somehow, and that just kind of, I don't know, that kind of puts me off. Oh, sorry, Pascal. Yeah, I recommend you don't do streams with headphones, I guess. Okay. DK Moon has a slot car race sprint going. Hey, Brooke, that is a cute pug. I mean, cute and weird. All of them are cute and weird. I used to work with a girl that had a pug named Monkey, and she used to always say that Monkey was a living special effect, and he looked like it. He's just like always like shivering and snorting and really, really weird. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Sando doesn't really turn me on too much. Advice on starting a booktube channel. The main thing is start a booktube channel. The The thing I did when I started, and I haven't been doing this that long, just August last year I started. I had been hesitating and thinking about doing it and hesitating for a year and a half on and off. And when I finally decided to do it, I promised myself I would make 10 videos because I know that the first of anything that you do creatively, when you're doing it for the first time, the first things you do are garbage, right? They're embarrassing and you don't want to look at them a year later and all of that. But I just said, I'm going to ignore all of that. I'm going to do 10 videos and I'm going to look at each video. I'm going to watch each video myself and see how people respond to them and then think of ways to improve them. And by the time I got to the 10th video, I wasn't as embarrassed anymore by what I was doing. And it became fun because of people like all of the people in the chat and other booktubers I met and all of that kind of thing. So that would be my advice, is just do it and don't stop. And keep doing it at least until you've got 10 videos and see how it goes. I think also what really helped me enjoy it and really want to keep doing it is I interacted a lot with other booktubers. Right from the beginning, I invited them onto my channel for my Friends on Books live streams, or I interacted with them on Discord servers and asked them questions and whatever. And now I've got a group of new friends who are all booktubers. And that really makes you want to keep doing it, I think. Or it did me anyway. Pascal loves Sando books. Yeah, it's not so much anti-cleanliness. It's just in a world that seems so rough. I mean, all the Bridge 4 stuff is pretty rough and no one swears. I don't know. That's just the thing for me. Yeah, Dan, the Black and Blue Collar Reader, with a new booktube channel. He has a pug named Iggy Smalls. Oh, Wizard of Earthsea. I just week before, I bought the big, chunky, illustrated deluxe edition. I don't know what. It's everything that has anything to do with Earthsea ever. And I plan on rereading A Wizard, which I read many years ago. And I never read any of the other Earthsea stuff, so I'm really looking forward to getting to that one. Okay. So Sando's last Wheel of Time books were good, except for Matt. I will never read those because I have DNF'd the first book of the Wheel of Time twice, and I have no desire to try again. So I'll never get to Sando's work. But yeah, I big props to Sando for doing that. I cannot imagine taking someone's work when they've already written such a huge series and finishing it and not. I mean, he obviously must have done a good job because he didn't completely piss off every Wheel of Time fan in the world, which is amazing. Yes, Chadia, damn Phillison. The first time I read Deadhouse Gates, I was just constantly irritated by Phillison. The second time I had a lot more sympathy and compassion and understanding for what she's been through and how it makes her act. But yeah, she's not easy. Yeah, Sando's a good Mormon boy. And I understand where he's coming from, like not everybody has to want to have fucking shit and whatever in their books, but it's just, I don't know. I guess I don't have a very clean mind. It just always rubs me the wrong way. How you happened upon my channel eludes your memory. Yeah, no idea. I know you were one of the early ones, Tufty. One of the people. There's a couple of people who actually joined my channel before I even uploaded a video, which was weird. I was like, what do you want? Like, there's nothing here. But Yeah, Sandoz Made Up Cursing. Yeah, there are so many great booktube channels. I'm subscribed to, I don't actually know how many. Um, and I get behind. I have times where instead of watching anything else or playing video games or whatever, I'm just watching lots and lots of booktube videos. And then there are times where I'm really into a series. I'm binging. I just recently binged Battlestar Galactica, all of it, over a few weeks. And didn't watch any booktube at all, and I got really, really behind. So, yeah, Jerome, that's what I'm thinking. I mean, I know that A Wizard of Earthsea obviously is the first book in the series, and the first book in the series is never the best one. Well, yeah, no, generally it's not the best one, especially if the series was written over a longer period of time. So, yeah, I really want to sit down at some point. It's probably not going to be until next year. I am a little over committed with read-alongs and buddy reads and whatever, but I want to get that chunky Earthsea book down and really get into it. Can I talk about Realm of the Elderlings? Almost done with Ship of Magic. I am currently, I mean, I read like a lot of my reading. I've been reading fantasy for about 40 years. So I read, I think the Farseer trilogy was all that was out. And I read it back in the 90s or early 2000s or whenever it was. I think it was the 90s. And then I forgot about it. And at some point I went back and reread Farseer, and I read everything that there was, which was up until the end of Rainwilds, I think. And I have a garbage memory, so I forgot all of it. And now I'm doing a reread, which feels like almost a first read. There are a couple of big events that I remember, so I'm not going to be surprised. But it's, to me, nobody in fantasy writes character better than Robin Hobb. And I keep thinking this as I'm reading it. Like, I've never been as emotional about a character in anything I've ever read as I am about Fitz. She's amazing, and a lot of the intriguey family politics stuff that happens in Live Ships is also just amazing. Like, she gets you hating the bad guy more than I've ever hated a bad guy, and she gets you loving the good guys, even though they're super fallible. Like, Fitz, I think, is a really I was thinking this when I started Assassin's Quest. Fitz is a really risky character in a way for an author to write, because he's the first person narrator, he's the hero, and he's not at all heroic. Like, a hell of a lot of his time is spent agonizing over risky things he might have to do, or worrying about getting hurt, or being a coward, and lying to everyone, or hiding important information from everyone around him. Like, this is not typical fantasy hero trope stuff, but I'm loving it. I'm doing the read along. So I've got one book a month lined up. I'm starting with the first book, Ship of Magic, first book of the Live Ships, next month, and really looking forward to it. CU Punk Rock Cereal Bowl, best name ever. Dan also likes a good fuck or shit in his books. Yeah, don't read Sando then. I mean, Sando's stuff is good, but Chadia, yeah, sympathy for Fellison. She is extremely annoying, but she's also been through more trauma than anyone in the Malazan Book of the Fallen. Even not anyone, but she's up there in the top 5 as far as trauma experienced. Women sniffing and pouting in book 1 of Wheel of Time. Yeah, no, it wasn't that. It was that it's basically Tolkien but badly written. Like if Tolkien couldn't write, he would have written Eye of the World. It's, you know, a village which is all kind of idyllic, and four world ignorant heroes set out with a wise wizard and a grumpy ranger to go do a thing, you know, and it's just like, and they're being chased by black cloaked guys on horses. And I was just like, if I want this, I can read Lord of the Rings again, you know. And the writing overall, I thought was actually pretty mediocre. I've heard it gets better. I've heard it gets more original. I've heard it's less Tolkien derivative as it goes on. But I just, yeah, maybe I years ago, I used to have a thing that if I started something, I had to finish it. So that's a good thing if you're doing a job. That's not such a good thing if you're entertaining yourself. But I had that with books as well. I was like, if I start a book, I have to finish it. And at some point, I realized that I was punishing myself reading bad books due to some bizarre concept that I had. And I gave that up and thought, that is pretty stupid. I'm not doing that anymore. And so DNFing the Eye of the World was no problem. Yep, Jerome, I am with you. You are my brother. People, that was the funny thing is I of course there's community around it, and there's lots of people talking and whatever about certain books. And I'd already heard the wheelies talking about The Slog, and I forget what it's meant to be. It's like books 8 to 10 or something is considered as a slog. And reading Wheel of Time and finding it so poorly, or reading Eye of the World and finding it so poorly written and kind of boring and super derivative. And then knowing that somewhere later in the series is the thing that even the fans call the slog, I was like, nah, this is not the series for me. No way. Yes, fucking Kyle. Kyle can go straight to hell. Chadia, also not a fan of Eye of the World. I guess that's why you're on my channel. I'm waiting. I haven't done a video about, like, I'm not a big fan of Brando Sando, and I DNF'd the Wheel of Time, and I'm not going to, because, like, basic idea of my channel is I only wanted to talk about things that I think are really great and encourage people to read good books and not encourage people to not read a book. But yeah, I keep waiting for a wheelie or a Sando stand to accidentally end up in one of these live streams where I do sometimes let off some steam about Wheel of Time or Sando and get a million hate comments. Yeah, it would be nice if you could give Fitz some guidance during his adventures. I mean, this is one of the things I also love about Hobbs' writing is Fitz is the most frustrating character I've ever read about. And he's not frustrating in the sense that I think the writing is bad or unrealistic or anything. Fitz is super realistic. Fitz makes dumb decisions. Fitz gets stubborn and sticks with something stupid, even though he has a better option. Fitz gets nervous and builds a whole story in his head about something that he can't do or must do, or something he shouldn't tell someone or whatever. He's an idiot, right? But I think that's a lot of the reason that a lot of us who love Hobb and love Realm of the Otherlings that we love Fitz is I can totally imagine myself making exactly the same mistakes in his position. I made stupid mistakes when I was his age, when I was a teenager, when I was in my 20s, when I had my first relationship. All of these things were also stupid, and I could have done better, but I didn't because I was stupid. And that's Fitz. Thoughts on The Fool? I love The Fool. I love The Fool so much. It's only just starting, like in Assassin's Quest, it's only just starting to become a little more clear what he is and what he's trying to do, and he's becoming more of a character. I heard originally that Hobb that Hobbes said that originally the Fool was invented for Assassin's Apprentice as a throwaway side character. He was just meant to have sort of a brief cameo, and that was it. And I'm so glad she didn't stick with that. Because like Penny, I love the Fool. He is so much a like you couldn't have the Fitz books without the Fool, right? The first one, obviously, the Fool's almost not in it, but after that, the Fool is so essential and so important to everything that happens, and it's such a great foil for Fitz because they're just like completely opposite of each other. Wheel of Time does get better after the Fellowship of the Rand. I have heard that. I'm willing to believe it. I am not willing to try again. Yeah, I don't know. Wheel of Time is also a finished series. I am not a finished series like fanatic. I am rereading for the third time right now Game of Thrones, and it's awesome. And I know it's not finished, but it's still awesome. So why not read awesome books? I don't know. Less than 1% DNF rate. Is that, Tufty, because you are good at selecting good books? Or is it because you refuse to DNF? Like, are you powering through, as you say? Are you just like, I hate this book, or I don't like this book, or I'm not enjoying this book, but I'm going to finish it anyway? I don't know if you're talking about me, Evie. I'm not a Sando hater. I'm just not a Sando lover. I read 3 of the Stormlight Archive books, and I liked him, but it was just like I wasn't fanatic about him. I read Mistborn, and it was fun, you know. I think one of the things about Sando that kind of puts me off is I don't really like an author that makes magic into science. That's what a hard magic system is, to my mind. It's either D&D or it's science. And to me, magic should be mysterious. There should be, of course, in the world, people who understand it and can use it and do cool things with it. That's fun. But I don't, as a reader, I don't want all of the details of magic explained to me. I like magic being mysterious. Thank you, DK Moon. I've run into some wheelies who are pretty fanatical about telling you how wrong you are if you don't love it as much as they do. But every kind of fandom has that. Better to avoid those people. The lady characters are terrible. Yeah. I mean, I of course I can't I can't judge it from a female perspective, obviously. But even as a guy, I mean, I know a lot of women, and reading Jordan's Women also made me go, dude, like, have you met women? Posted on the Hub channel across the majority of the Discords, a form for most least favorite characters. Ah, okay. I'll have to look for that. Yeah, sorry, Chadia. You are probably also stupid, but you're in good company. Fitz is an idiot. I have been an idiot much of my life as well. Still am in many ways. Yeah, the Fool. I mean, I love them both equally, I would say, probably just for different reasons. Like the Fool is super interesting because he's so mysterious, and he's an alien, you know? I mean, he's really strange and kind of alien. And Fitz is a guy I would like to have a beer with when he's in a good mood, which is not often. But he's just a guy, you know? He's a guy doing his best in a really strange situation. Reading Assassin's Quest, loving it, excellent. Yeah, no, I'm really enjoying it as well. It's a little slow in places. I think Royal Assassin was a bit more bang, 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 you know, punchy. but I'm really enjoying it. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't hate much. Like the worst things get with me is I ignore it. Like I am maybe a Sando ignorer. Maybe maybe that's it. I I don't dislike him enough to bother talking about him, you know? Like whatever. When I feel like rereading Lord of the Rings, I actually like picking up one of the copycats instead, just to read them on. Yeah, I did all of that because I'm old. I did all of that in the 80s. Um, like I read the Belgariad back then. I did miss Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn, which is highly inspired by. I read the Shannara books back in the 80s. I read Chronicles of Thomas Covenant. Um, Alan has never met a woman. Then your lovely, lovely wife must be a cyborg because she seems like a woman to me and quite a nice one. Favorite animal companion in fantasy? It's funny. I was thinking about this morning. Small ferret. Small ferret is the best animal companion in fantasy. Nobody can tell me any different. Skeptic of Sando. Yeah, I read some of his stuff and I'm not like super energized to read more. Sad boy Fitz. Are you the kind of woman, Evie, who falls for sad boys? Sad boys with axes. All-time average rating is 3.46. That's right. Tufty is into stats. I read lots, which I wouldn't recommend, but mostly I find things that are finishable. It's just rare that I find something I cannot finish. Yeah, it's not so much cannot. I mean, if I really forced myself, I could. It's why am I wasting my time forcing myself to finish something that I think is garbage? Yeah, I told you, Brooke. It's sad ferret, a small ferret, not sad ferret, sad boy and small ferret. Yes. But really, honestly, I mean, Night Eyes for me, there's no animal companion better than Night Eyes. And probably in second place would be Oi from The Dark Tower. Loyosh is pretty cool. I started rereading the Vlad Taltos books last year at some point, and I had forgotten how flat the characters are, and I was in the mood for characters. And yeah, Brust's characters are, at least in the early books, the Vlad Taltos books, they are really two-dimensional. And they're basically sort of cardboard cutouts that he moves around to make the story happen. And that was, you know. Yes, Small Ferret is from Assassin's Quest. Trap, trap, snip, snip. And I just loved reading. I won't describe the scene because it would be spoilers, but when Fitz meets Small Ferret, I was just like, this is the coolest thing. I used to, when I was in university, I had a ferret as a pet. And I was laughing my ass off reading how Hobb writes the mental state of a ferret. Because I was like, I can totally imagine my ferret thinking exactly like that. You are sad boy Fitz. Don't be sad, Evie. Don't be sad. But it's cathartic reading Fitz. Yeah, yeah. I think there's a lot of that for everyone who loves Fitz, that you're relating to him in unfortunate ways. Okay, see, yeah, Evie's animal companion love is Solove from the Winternight trilogy. I have not read the Winternight trilogy. I've already had it strongly recommended to me by Evie. And Solove is better than Night Eyes. Okay. I love me a good animal companion, so I will need to read the Winternight. See, this is Sando for me. I don't remember who Tensoon was. I read Mistborn. Is that in era 1 or era 2? Because I read era 1 only. I wasn't interested in Western with digesting metals and stuff. But if Tensoon was in the first one, I have completely forgotten that animal companion. Yeah. So shall we sprint one more time until half past? We've had a longer chat. That's right. Evie is a horse girl and Solovey is a horse. So I'm more of a wolf guy. So yeah, I don't really have whole lot of connection to horses. Anyway, let's sprint for another half an hour and then I need to get dinner. So enjoy your reading. Pascal. Pascal. I don't know if Pascal is still listening, but I just wanted to not shock him in the headphones. So, thanks for sprinting with me, everybody. It's been fun. Oh no, Pascal said he has to go. DK Moon grew up on a horse farm and is not a fan. Night eyes all the way. Bye, Brooke. And bye, everybody else. I hope you've been enjoying reading. I hope you're reading some awesome books. Actually, I thought of a question. Maybe if you're still listening and you've stopped reading, you can answer it without spoiling anything. What are you really, really enjoying about what you're reading? I'm reading Assassin's Quest by Robin Hobb, and I'm really enjoying how she does characters and also the stubborn perseverance of the characters. There are so many characters in this that are having a really difficult life, and they keep going for the good of other people, and I find that very admirable myself. But it looks like people are leaving, so forget that question. We can talk about it later. I will see you all in the next live stream or video or whatever. Have a good Sunday evening if you're over here, Sunday afternoon if you're over there, Sunday something else if you're elsewhere. See you later.